Hey everyone, welcome back to The Explainer. So today we're exploring a truly fascinating framework from our source material. It actually blends physics with psychology to answer a massive question. Why do we constantly sabotage our own success? We're going to really zero in on understanding the true nature of the resistance created by the brain. Trust me, once you wrap your head around this concept, the way you view your entire life is going to change completely.
Okay, let's dive into this. I've got to ask, does it ever feel like no matter how hard you try, you're just constantly walking into this massive, unseen headwind? Like right when things start going well, some invisible force just blocks your happiness or your success. If you're not in your head right now, believe me, you are definitely not alone.
Well, if you've been feeling that way, you can take a deep breath. Because according to our source material, the universe isn't out to punish you, and it's certainly not a lack of talent on your end. The real culprit? It's an automatic sabotage system. Literally, a biological mechanism that is hardwired right into your brain.
Section 1. The high-voltage universe.
Before we unpack how that sabotage system actually works, we need to completely reframe our relationship with the universe. I mean, how often do we picture the universe as some moody, judgmental deity? Dropping lightning bolts depending on its mood, rewarding you if you're good, punishing you if you're bad. Well, our source presents a totally different concept. Think of the universe less like an emotional ruler and more like a high-voltage power plant providing constant, infinite energy. Kind of like the electricity in your wall outlet, it doesn't play favorites, right? The universe's energy applies a constant pressure, unconditionally trying to flow right into your life.
Section 2. The true nature of brain resistance.
So the crucial point is this. If the universe is constantly offering us all this energy, why aren't we receiving it? Well, it comes down to a biological function called homeostasis. See, your brain prioritizes survival above absolutely everything else, which means it fiercely defends the status quo. Even if your current situation is completely miserable, your brain still recognizes it as a safe zone simply because you survived it yesterday. So when sudden luck or wealth shows up, your brain basically freaks out. It treats it like you're entering a deadly unknown threat zone, and it slams on the brakes. That right there is the true nature of the resistance created by the brain. Think of it this way. The universe is sending us this massive voltage of infinite energy, opportunity, and flow. But our subconscious fears, things like past trauma, self-doubt, or this deeply ingrained belief that we just have to suffer to succeed, they act as literal insulators. Just like rubber or glass blocks an electrical current, these biological fears completely block the universe's voltage. And here's where the source brilliantly uses Ohm's law from physics to explain this. Current, or in our case, happiness and flow, equals voltage, which is the universe's energy, divided by resistance, which is our ego. It honestly doesn't matter how high the universe's voltage is. If your internal insulators are high, the current flowing through you is basically zero. So that burnout, the stress, the endless anxiety we feel, that is literally just the friction heat generated when the universe's massive energy crashes into your internal resistance.
Section 3. Universe energy and superconductivity.
So, to stop all that painful friction heat and actually turn things around, the framework suggests our target value for internal resistance has to be exactly zero. Dropping that resistance to zero is the absolute key here. It's exactly like supercooled metals in physics. When resistance drops to zero, they hit a state called superconductivity. The energy just flows endlessly, no loss, no effort. If we can drop our own internal resistance to absolute zero, the universe's massive power can pass through us effortlessly. It moves you automatically to exactly where you need to be, kind of like a leaf just effortlessly riding the current of a river.
Section 4. The Zero Resistance Protocol.
All right, so how do we actually become these human superconductors? The source gives us a highly scientific, practical method. And the best part? You don't need to buy anything or prepare anything. All it takes is exactly 5 minutes just before you fall asleep every night. Now, what's really interesting about this is the biological reasoning for the timing. Why right before sleep? Well, when we're awake, our left brain acts as this rigid logical filter, constantly blocking the universe's signals with quote-unquote common sense. But right before you sleep, your brain waves shift down from beta into alpha and theta. That logical filter, essentially the grumpy security guard in your brain, starts to nod off. This gives you direct, unfiltered access to your subconscious mind. Let's walk through the 3 exact steps for this protocol. Step 1 is discharge static. You're going to imagine exhaling all the anger and anxiety of your day as this thick, black smoke leaving your mouth. Step 2 is circuit cooling.
Visualize pouring liquid nitrogen over your brain, turning your mind and body into an absolute zero ice sculpture. You want to completely stop the vibration of your thoughts. And then, step 3 is open current.
For step 3, you give a very specific mental command. I permit the flow. Please use me. And then you just open the energy gates. Now, the source has a very strict warning here. You absolutely cannot attach specific conditions to this. You can't say, I want $1 million, or please fix this problem at work. Adding those conditions creates immediate resistance because you're acknowledging a lack. You just have to act as an empty, unconditional conduit.
Section 5. Ego's Rebellion and Total Surrender.
Let's move on and see how this builds, because this next part is crucial. When you do this protocol and fall asleep, you're allowing the universe to update your programming overnight. You'll likely feel a huge wave of relief. But then you might get hit with sudden, intense pushback. The source calls this the ego's rebellion. Please, whatever you do not panic when this happens.
This pushback is literally just the law of inertia at work. Your ego has used struggle and suffering as its identity for years, so it's going to fight fiercely to maintain the old you. Those sudden bursts of anxiety or self-doubt, they are not a failure of the method. Actually, they're absolute proof that it's working. Think of a spinning top. Right before it completely stops, it wobbles the most violently. That's your ego right now.
So what's the solution to this rebellion? You do absolutely nothing. If you try to fight the anxiety or frantically plan a way out, you're just feeding new energy to your thrashing ego. The advice here is to treat it scientifically. Just observe the anxiety without reacting to it. By doing nothing, you starve the ego of the energy it needs to survive, and eventually it just fades away.
And once that storm passes, what the source calls the automatic life begins. With the ego's noise finally gone, you get crystal clear intuition. You'll start noticing unforced synchronicities, and problems just seem to effortlessly resolve themselves when you let them go. You aren't navigating with a limited human brain anymore. You're being guided by the universe's supercomputer on an incredibly efficient, self-driving journey.
So, having explored the true nature of the resistance created by the brain, it's clear you don't have to be a victim to those old patterns anymore. I want to leave you with one final question to think about. Are you ready to drop your heavy armor, stop fighting yourself, and finally sign a peace treaty with the universe? The moment you let go of that resistance and permit the flow, your true life begins. So why not try those 5 minutes tonight?